Hey guys, it's Josh from WA Production, and today I'm really excited to share with you our brand new plugin with Norwegian superstar DJ K-391, and the plugin is called Put Me on Drums. Put Me on Drums is an amazing multi-effect plugin that can help your drums sound fatter, punchier, deeper, wider, all those great things, especially for dance music, but pretty much for anything. What's great too, you can use it on other sounds, not just drums, and it'll create some amazing different creative effects. So what I'm gonna do is go through a few of the different presets and sounds that you can use them on, and then just go through a little bit about how the plugin works, what the parameters are, and what makes it special. So let's get started. So I've thrown in a few different kinds of drum loops into FL Studio here so that we can listen to how Put Me on Drums sounds. This first one, I've got Put Me on Drums on the track, but it's powered off right now. So this is how the loop sounds without it. So obviously it's already a pretty processed sound, and so this is one type of example. You can also use it on a very raw sound to really get it sounding bright and powerful. But if we turn on our Put Me on Drums here, we can kind of see what we've got and go through some different sounds for it. You'll see there's the root initial preset, but then in the factory presets, it's mostly presets that are designed for specific sounds. So we've got some presets for an 808, for claps, for cymbals, for hi-hats, kicks, snares, etc. And you can go by these different feels. And so that's what the factory presets have. But then you've also got the presets that were designed by K-391 himself. And so those are also classified into different types of instruments, but he also created some that work on synths, chords, as well as different drums that kind of give it more of a flavor. So, you know, he has another dimension for a synth that can create some crazy sounds and de-harshing drums, that kind of thing. So a good selection of different drums. So I'm going to go through a few that are kind of more meant for full drum buses, like this is a full drum loop. So let's start. Again, let's just hear how it sounds without anything. Okay, so now let's try putting on the drum enhancer or the bus enhancer preset. So that sounds like it adds some compression and some brightness there. Let's see if there's something else, maybe not from those because those are meant for individual drums. Let's see if there's something else that we like over here. Maybe de-harsh. All right, so that clearly took away some of the highs and mellowed those down. Maybe not what we're looking for, but you can kind of hear the difference there. This one's probably just a unique creative effect here, the LFO drums. That's pretty cool for a creative effect. And then this one, he says it's for synths, but you can put it on anything. So let's hear how this lo-fi preset sounds. So that's pretty dope too for the right track. So let's go into the, I'm going to put it back to its initial preset. Let's go into the plugin and just kind of show a little bit about what it does. So what's really unique about the Put Me on Drums plugin is that it's separated into the high and low frequencies. So you can treat the highs and lows differently, and you've got different effects to put on each, which in drums is pretty common anyway. A lot of times you'll have like your low end, which will have that bassiness and that thickness at the bottom. And at the top, you might have that snap, punchy brightness. And you might want to do different things to those. A lot of times people will take two different sounds and layer them together because you like the sub of one and the high end of another. What Put Me on Drums lets you do is to kind of treat them individually all in one plugin, and you can adjust the crossover of where you affect them here. So there's no hard and fast rules, but maybe for a kick, you know, you really want to isolate that sub low end. So you might put this a little lower and treat just the lower end with these low options and then the rest with these high options. And maybe for a snare, which doesn't typically have as much sub, maybe your crossover point would be like over here somewhere, so that you kind of get those mids and lows, and then just the brightness separated from that. So anyway, totally up to you, and you can just play with that and see how it sounds. It's pretty cool. So on the low end, we've got a low EQ, which you can adjust the frequency of, and then the gain. So if you want to put a little boost at a certain frequency or a little dip, you can adjust that here. It goes from 20 hertz to a kilohertz, so 1,000 hertz. And then over here, you can also affect the subtail. So if you want to have a subtail and extend how long that goes, you can adjust that by doing this. If you don't want to affect that, you can turn it off. It also adds some additional upper harmonics to the sub to kind of have it punch through more as well. So you can hear how that sounds. And then for the belly, basically what this does is it feeds the transient into some saturation. And so you can mess around with the punch knob to see how that affects your desired sound and get it to where you want it to be. So if we just want to affect the bottom end, let's just play around with that a little bit. All right, so you can kind of hear the difference there. And then if we want to be more precise about just getting the low end, we can adjust the crossover point here. Cool. In the middle, you've got your mix knob. So that's just a standard drive wet knob as well, so that you don't have it necessarily have to be 100% wet. I'm going to leave it at 100 just for our purposes. And then on the right side, you've got your high. So you've got a high EQ, which does the same thing as the low, but on the high end from 1 kilohertz to 20 kilohertz. Okay, and so most of the effects from the right side kind of stem from this dimension aspect. So the dimension knob adds additional voices to create more depth. And so you can adjust how much of that from 0 to 100% here. You can see when I go to 0, these two knobs go dark because they're not doing anything. So you can adjust that. And then the width knob will adjust how wide your higher end sound sounds, depending on how far you go, with how much, by using the voices that are created by the dimension knob. And then the shift knob will also do a formant shift of those sounds. So from down an octave to up an octave. And then finally, this frequency shifter knob controls which frequencies are shifted basically by this shift knob. And so really the best way to understand how it works is to play around with it. So let's turn everything off first. Now I'll adjust the dimension. I'm going to put it at 100% so you can hear it the most, and then adjust some of the other effects. So that's pretty cool. You can create some really interesting sounds that way. And as I'm sure you can guess, throwing that onto a synth or a guitar or something can create some really interesting effects as well. In this tutorial, I'm going to stick to drums because that's what the plugin's called, but you can really have a lot of fun with it. So moving on, as I'm sure you guys are thrilled with hearing that loop for that long, let's go on to our snares. So I've just got a very basic snare loop here. So I'm going to turn on Put Me on Drums, and we can just listen to how some of these snare presets sound. All right, so which one you use will totally depend on the song you're using it in, obviously, but I think Punch and Bite is my favorite, and really just makes it bright and punchy. So let's hear without it and with it. Just makes it thicker, punchier, heavier, and for the right song, like a dubstep track or whatever, that's probably the thing you're going for. So now let's move on to our kicks. This is one where there are a lot of great options for what to do with those. So this is the kick without it. So kind of a bassy kick. Let's turn on Put Me on Drums and try some of these different kick sounds. So that's really cool. There are some really interesting ones here. I really liked this punchy and snappy one for like a standard kick. I like that voicey kind of top end that it gives it, that snap. And then I also like this toned one here, grimy and toned. For the right track, I really like that tonal aspect. It's pretty cool. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, now let's give it a go with some claps. Let's have a listen to those. So this is it without anything on it. And then we've got this ideal for claps preset right here. So let's hear how that sounds. Nice. So that definitely gives it a lot of brightness. So without it and with it. So depending on the track, maybe that fits, maybe it doesn't. I know that it lost a little bit of its punch, but it gained a little bit of brightness. You can always, mess around with that. You can adjust the EQ down here. You can change all these things, adjust the crossover to get it sounding exactly how you want it. But that's pretty cool sounding, I think. And then finally, I picked one kind of weird loop that we can just add some things to and see how it sounds. It's kind of just a percussion loop of sorts. So let's listen to what that sounds like without anything. So let's maybe that LFO one that I played earlier could sound cool from K-391. Let's hear how that sounds. Well, that's certainly unique. What's really cool about Put Me on Drums too is that we've got this A-B option, so we can jump into a different preset and compare them. So A still has our LFO preset on it, but B, what do we want to do? How about we try distorted lands? That's pretty dope, but we can easily go back and forth and see which one we like more by doing this A-Bing. All right, so I think both of those sound pretty cool. We'll just have to decide in our track that we're obviously making together which one is going to fit better for our purposes. But I really love Put Me on Drums. We're really excited that K-391 worked with us on it. It's kind of the easiest way to just throw in some drums, have all these awesome presets that are already designed for specific kinds of drums, for specific characters of your track, and you can see what sounds good, tweak them to your liking. I think it's got some really unique parameters and effect chains going on under the hood. And K-391, obviously, this is kind of what helps him create his signature sound with his drums. So I think it's going to be something that's super valuable for producers, especially those in electronic music. But really, this can be thrown on anything. Like I said, you can put it on leads, guitars, anything like that, just to come up with an interesting feel. I think this frequency shifter gives kind of a whole new level of customization, and especially the fact that you can adjust the crossover so that this frequency shifter and these different parameters are not messing with your low end and your sub of your kick or your other drums. So anyway, I suggest you go grab it. It's a really awesome plugin. I'm enjoying having fun with it, and big shout out to K-391 for working with us on it. Hope you guys like it as much as I do. This is Josh from WA Production, and I will see you guys next time.